Hello and welcome to episode 18 of
Cats, Gats, and Kersplats episode podcast.
Close enough. I am your host, Brandon Nichols, joined with me, as always, Sam Spangler. How
Hello.
you doing? See, we really should.
So close.
I have so many people or podcasts I listen to where they take little bits and play the weird parts at the beginning. So then you're like, what? And then it jumps into the episode.
Yeah.
That should have been one of them.
Okay.
How you doing, Sam?
Doing pretty good. It's been a busy past couple weeks. So
yeah, it's been a busy week, but that's just my end. So
yeah, in a good way though. You know, learning my new role, learning my new job, which is exciting, but very stressful. I'm on my own now.
And your hours have changed?
My hours have changed, so I'm working longer days, which is a good thing because it gives me more time to go and see people throughout the day and take care of them. But in addition to that, it's, just stretching out the time that I'm there. And I told everybody, lots of people have asked me, how are you doing? How do you feel about this? And I said, I hate it because I suck at it, because I'm bad at it. And that's not something I enjoy, but I love it because it's challenging me.
And you're learning.
And I'm learning. Absolutely. Yeah. Every day I'm learning something. And especially when I have a good collaborator with me, they teach me something new every day. As I'm sitting there talking with them and discussing different individuals, it really helps me, but I feel like I'm getting kicked in the head every time because I'm just like, I should have known this. I should have realized
It's the same thing I always preach to both of my children. You're never really failing if you're learning something.
Absolutely. And I preach the exact same things to my kids. They cover their ears because I have a phrase that I say to them over and over about the master has failed more times than the beginner has tried, and they hate it.
It's a very true statement.
But it's a true statement, and it's just one of those reminders that, you know what? I got to keep this. I've got to practice what I preach. I've got to show them that I'm willing to keep achieving.
Is that a Star Wars line? Because it sounds like something. Did a rookie thing and left the volume on my phone.
Oh, so did I.
See, look at that.
Now I'm good.
You just learned from the master making a mistake.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Look at you. Still learning.
Anything interesting over the weekend?
No, we just kind of enjoyed the beautiful weather that we had here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was so nice. And then Monday was 43 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, typical,
But no, it was
Missouri.
Mid 60s, like close to 70.
Oh, it was so nice. We were able to get downtown, Union Station, Science City, kind of get around, get outdoors, have the kids out hanging out with us, which is always a good time. So we like that a lot. And then Sunday was just kind of a nice, relaxing day at home.
We did a lot of errands and crud on Saturday and Sunday, but at the same time I think we also detoxed from a long week of just work and stuff. So Logan and I went outside and played football several times.
Yeah, same here.
But it was just like there wasn't a whole lot of drive to do anything. At one point I went outside. So you and I have talked about this. My wife and I have talked about moving our bedroom into the garage and redoing it. So I was going through some old pictures and some old stuff and like basically going, okay, this is what we're going to have to do to at least clean out the garage completely, and talking about how we might move the boys around and stuff. So that lasted for like 45 minutes, and then I lost all drive to do it, and I was like, let's do the other errands we have to do.
Well, and something I was reminded of once is that as hard as we work at times we need that amount of time to like recover as well with our brains and our bodies, and just to relax, to not have to focus on something, and just to enjoy the life around us. And it's a good reminder, and it's been appreciated. And my week is, in all honesty, at this point can only get better, because as the days go on, I get closer and closer to a free bowl of pho.
Fuck.
You know what? I think I'm just going to call it pho from now on.
Sony has 4 days to show me something. Just show me something.
Yeah,
like I said, I've already said I don't even care, because I get to go have a bowl of pho because I love it.
It's a win-win situation.
It's a really win-win, and it's not like I'm going to be out with $20. It's not that expensive.
No.
So it's like, but it was more of a, can you just show me something? Please, just anything.
Yeah, to be fair, we are in the grace period, so something is announced.
So I have we discussed midnight Saturday night.
Yeah, midnight Saturday. I think you are out of luck.
I'm fine. But if it's Sunday morning, hey, they dropped all this. I hate all of you. I hate all of you. Everybody involved.
Yeah. I feel like that should be like double for me. 3 bowls of fun.
Have you watched or read or done anything over the weekend, or since we talked?
So I started Transparent on Amazon Prime, which is a show with Jeffrey Tambor, which he was in Arrested Development.
I like him.
Yeah, and I really like him as an actor. And it's just an interesting show about he's an older guy. He has grown-up kids. He has decided that he feels more comfortable in a woman's body and dressing as a woman. And I don't think he's transitioning over. At least the first season he was not. But it was him coming out to his family, friends, and those around them. And then there's 3 children of his. Each one is dealing with something difficult.
Right.
And so
is this a drama?
Yeah. I would call it a drama.
It's interesting because he's always in comedies, but every once in a while he does a serious thing, and I really like that.
And they're all fantastic. The acting, as I was telling you earlier, is it's an amazing job with all these all these characters working together. Everybody that's been in the show has been phenomenal for what role they're playing, and his character, or all the characters that are playing it, have a flaw to them, but they're likable in a way, and you can almost kind of relate to what they're going through and the struggles they're dealing with. But very enjoyed that. Started season 2 of Altered Carbon, which I'm ho-hum on so far. I just don't know if I understand it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I watched the first season. I enjoyed it, but I know it's based on books, and I just don't understand if I understand the importance of what's happening right now and the scenes that I'm seeing.
Right. Well, and I talked to you about this a little bit. Westworld is kind of the same way. I'm like, I just don't know if you can get the crux of what's happening, but for me with Westworld, it's like, but do I care enough to want to, is it a little too weird? Which is not a thing for me. It's never a little too weird. Right. It's more of, is the weirdness justify the entertainment value of it?
Understood. I will say the first season, the fact that Anthony Hopkins is in it would probably drag me through enough. I love Anthony Hopkins as an actor.
Right.
And in the first season of Westworld, I think he just does a really good job of bringing whatever character he plays to life pretty well.
Do you like Black Mirror?
Yeah.
See, that's another one we've watched several episodes, but it's one of those I can't. It's like there's some so weird that I am like that stretches my weirdness level, and I'm like, I can't do this.
I understand that. A lot of people,
and it makes me uncomfortable, and that's the thing is I'm like, I don't like that feeling of uncomfortableness.
I have recommended that show to a number of people with a disclaimer, because I will say this is not a feel good show.
No,
this is going to leave you feeling more depressed and more concerned about the world around you.
Right.
But that's why I enjoy it. I do love fun comedy popcorny shows occasionally, and there's usually one that fills that niche, which is right now is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Oh, phenomenal show. I love that show.
Terry Crews. Love Terry Crews.
Oh, Terry Crews and Adam Sandler. I mean, the captain, just everybody's great in that show. And they play their pieces very well. But I do like very typically dark television, kind of, the dark comedies or dramas that dive a little bit deeper. And I know the Black Mirror gets into some sketchy areas at times. But I enjoyed what I saw.
So we, in 2 nights, burned through, because they're 30-minute episodes and there's only 7 episodes. I'm really not okay with this, or I'm not okay with this.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, which I didn't realize was based off of a graphic novel.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it.
I saw that pop up on Netflix.
So there's a lot of what in the hell is happening, but it was very interesting enough to where you wanted to keep following along, especially when they're 30 minutes. It is so much easier to binge a 30-minute show for me than it is an hour.
100%
Like
agreed.
I can't. There's so many shows that we just haven't finished watching. We still haven't finished Mandalorian because I'm like, it's an hour episode and there's still 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
And my head goes, I don't have time for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Or there's just several aspects of that. Like Witcher's one thing. Like we did do Witcher because I think that was easier for me as a diehard fan of the video game. It was much easier to stay into. Not a big Star Wars guy. Can't get the drive to finish Mandalorian. You know what I mean?
Where are you at? on Mandalorian?
I think we have 3 episodes left.
Okay. I understand it, though, because there were some, slow episodes
that
didn't really matter towards the bigger plot.
Right.
You know?
And if I'm not a massive fan of the universe, I just don't have that.
Yeah. And I'm okay of plotting through. There's no reason to leave a series. No problem with leaving a series and then coming back later and be like, oh, you never finished this. Let's see if it's good. And sometimes if it picks up, then you're like, oh, that was nice.
So there's 7 episodes of I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
Which is almost the exact equivalent of 3 episodes of The Mandalorian. So it was a little
I would watch that.
Easier to, there is some, and I will say, there were several times I noticed Monica like eyeballing me because I called a lot of the crap happening, we've talked about this with Knives Out. I called that whole movie as I was watching it.
Right.
Like I knew exactly what was happening, but it had a hard time keep doing it and it being interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas like I was calling a lot of stuff happening in this show, but I was okay with it because I didn't know like how do you get to that point? Right. I know this is what's going to happen. How the hell do you get there?
Well, and when it's 30 minutes,
right?
That's not a whole bunch of your time that you're giving up to answer a single question. I think that's been a problem with some Netflix shows that I haven't started enjoying. Is then the episodes are too long. Right. And then they have too many episodes in a season. Right.
I agree.
And it's just when it becomes that where there's a lot of filler.
Right.
I kind of stop caring.
And we've talked about this before in the past. The vampire show you watched.
Oh yeah, Dracula.
Sorry, yeah. Dracula. We talked about the
BBC one. Yeah.
Right, but Cumberbutt. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah.
And
what did you say?
Cumberbutt.
Oh, Cumberbutt. I thought you said Coverbutt. I was like
Coverbutt.
Okay.
Where they do these longer episodes, but there's only 4 of them, 5 of them throughout the year. For like dramas and suspense type stuff, I almost would rather that, like split it up, just make less episodes so that you can tell a more coherent story. Give me an hour and a half episode.
Right.
Tell a more coherent story spread over, even if it's 5 or 6 episodes throughout a whole year. I think it's easier to intake as a viewer.
Did you say that you do an hour and a half episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't tell if you were agreeing with like the longer episode.
Yeah. A longer episode. Gotcha. Like, even if it was a 2-hour episode, like it's more like a movie.
Right.
But
allow it to kind of like.
Right.
Kind of plot, kind of go along.
Like they've always develop. Like every once in a while, there's like, they've done it 100 times. Gulliver's Travels. The big guy that gets strapped down.
Yeah, that's.
I feel like every 10 years they do a Gulliver's Travel 4-part miniseries with a new person playing Gulliver, and you're like, why are you doing this again? Yeah. But like, I think they did that with more of the serious, thought-provoking shows, and let just the sitcoms be the 30-minute stuff.
Right.
I think you would.
Well, and I remember. I don't know if you watched The Office back in the day. But
the BBC one? Or
no, not the BBC one, the American version. One. There was a brief time where they stretched their episodes to an hour long, and it didn't work as well.
No.
I don't think it worked as well. I mean, it was maybe just a few, but I remember being like, oh man, this is going to be great. I love The Office for 30 minutes. This is hilarious. And then when they stretched it out to an hour, you're like, oh man, they're really just like
but see, there's something different. But see, that is a very sitcom.
It is.
And I don't think it works. Even like when they've done special episodes of Cheers back in the day or something where they were longer and drawn out, they got boring.
Right.
It was like, why are we doing this?
True.
But, no, I would check out just because I would love to hear your take on.
Yeah. If it's short like that, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And Altered Carbon's not holding my interest right now.
Right.
Even though I think I'm about halfway through and I don't know.
Something else I watched so Monica's really harping on me really hard about this. Because I'm at that age, apparently. She says I'm an old man. I've been watching a lot of docuseries, especially on Netflix.
Right.
So did you ever see the movie Chef? It's one of my favorite movies. With
Jon
Favreau.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He has a show on Netflix called Chef where he's actually goes around to actual restaurants and cooks with people. I think it's fascinating. I love those kind of shows, especially because he learned how to cook for Chef, and then he just fell in love with cooking. So the fact that they're going around to different things doing that. So I've watched that a little bit, but there's I forgot, Earth at Night or something that's on Netflix now.
Right.
There's 2 versions. There's a whole season that's got like several episodes of basically it's a mini series about animals and nature at night and how they live. But there's a behind the scenes version of them shooting this where it shows the people that are shooting it, which is what I thought was even more enthralling than but they have these cameras.
They're doing a docu-series where they shoot animals, and now they're doing a docu-series on people that shoot the animals.
Right. So, but it was really cool because they have this,
and then they'll do a docu-series of people that shoot the people that shoot the people that shoot the animals.
He had a hard time getting the cameraman in frame while he worked on his.
They shot the docu-series.
Right. But I found it was really cool because there's this camera that uses the moonlight as a light source.
Right.
And so like normally at night you can't really video this stuff, but this one camera, like it was showing how it worked, and they just kind of faded into how the camera was, and it was like in the middle of the African, wildlands, and there's just like 4 or 5 cheetahs sitting there, but the moonlight, it was clear skies, was so bright that the film looked like it was like early morning. But it was so bright and you could see everything, and I was so fascinated by this camera that I was like, show me more of this.
You're like, I need one of those.
So Monica's like, can we watch something not a documentary? I'm like, what? I'm like, leave me alone. I find this stuff fascinating.
As you sit in your rocking chair.
Yeah, we need a rocking chair.
Do you remember that time? Pepperidge Farms does.
Let's go ahead and talk about some stuff.
Sure. I'm here to talk about stuff. How about you?
Go back to the Sony thing.
Yeah.
One of the things and I'll let you lead this, the patent for the controller.
So Sony came up with a patent that they released, and you may have to fill in some of the details because the basic understanding that I have of it is that there is a heart rate sensor located within the grips.
Right.
And there was maybe something about sweat, which I don't know if is actually true or not.
That's a little weird.
But maybe it helps conduction. Maybe it helps kind of just, pick up the rate and everything. So, wondering about that, I kind of brought the question up to you. How do you think this would be applied to games, or how would you want it to be?
Well, there's a lot of things I can think of. First of all, I think it's interesting because there's a lot of leaks about patents for their controller. And it more or less was like, so when Xbox showed off their Series X. I don't know why I can't get this name right. Okay. But the base controller looked like an Xbox Elite controller. Yeah. So, and I'm wondering if that's what I mentioned, that I thought that's what PlayStation was going to do, is have their similar style of like with the back pedals. And I think that might be another thing they do, especially because the touchpad might be an actual screen now and stuff.
I saw something about that.
Yeah, which is very interesting to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool idea in theory, but why?
Well, it's the same thing with like, remember when with the PlayStation 4 controller having the speaker in it? I was like, what's the point? But every now and then when you hear something come out of the speaker, it's like, that's kind of cool.
So I'm going to talk about that for a second. So the speaker on the controller is probably one of my favorite stupid little things on this controller that you don't think about. So I play a lot of baseball games. Mm-hmm. The crowd noise comes in through that little speaker,
and that's just kind of cool.
The strike calls come in through that little speaker, and it's just one of those like I love that.
Yeah, brings you into the game a little bit more.
There's you play racing games. Mm-hmm. The pit chatter comes out through that.
Oh, okay.
There's just little one of the things that really got me was, now when I used to play Destiny a lot, I used headphones because the sound quality on Destiny and the surround sound abilities, especially if you have good headphones, are like creepy as crap.
Right.
Because there are some dark, like horror-esque scenes in the first Destiny. Well, I noticed that if you didn't have headphones on, you'd get some of those creaks. Mm-hmm. You're like, what? Oh, it's coming from the speaker, like just for that. It's just one of those weird, like I would have thought that's a pointless.
Kind of one that makes you think like, where's that? Oh,
right, and that's good especially for a horror game if you're gonna like just use the speaker a little bit. You know what I mean? So one of my big like the sweat and stuff like that. So when you brought it up earlier, we talked about the first thing that came to mind was Death Stranding.
Yeah.
So like there are so intense portions of that game when the BTs come out of the ground and start reaching for you, and you're like, oh shit, and you're already trying to like hold your breath. You know, like when you watch a horror movie or when you watch something suspenseful and you inadvertently hold your breath.
Yeah.
Or you're playing a game and you're like, you know, I think that plays a key in it. And I think like if you had that on a controller while you're playing like Death Stranding, the BT, that could play into them sensing you.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be an extra little like they can feel the heartbeat coming type thing. Where in the past, like there were some shooting games where like if you were playing as a sniper, and you bring up the scope, you'd have the sway, but you'd also feel the heartbeat in the vibration from the control, right? But you'd also feel it in your hands. Gotcha. Yep. And also in baseball games, when you're in like intense situations on MLB The Show, it'll give you like a heartbeat thing. Okay. Well, what if that actually played off of your actual heartbeat? I think that'd be a very interesting little add-on to that, and it'd be like the speaker, just maybe enough little interesting where you're like, you know, and if you're like your hands start sweating or something and it's a little hard, which would be another like thing for a sports game. If like you're getting really into an intense game and your hands are sweating a little,
you drop the ball
or so, right? You know, so like no, you know, that kind of, you
have to start playing wearing gloves,
and you know, and all of those features, especially when it's that kind of an intense type thing, it would have to have an on and off.
Right. You
have to be like, the speaker doesn't matter, but like that kind of thing, like you can turn rumble off almost in any game.
Yeah.
Because, which is funny, I've met people that don't like the rumble controls and controllers, and I can't play games without them anymore because I've tried so many games. I can't, especially cannot play a shooter because I fire the gun and I'm like, my gun firing?
Yeah. Like, wait for a little bit of feedback.
I need the feedback from this. Like it's such a afterthought now, where in the past I was like, and I remember when Sony first came out with the first DualShock controller and it was like rumble. I was like, what? And the first time I used one, I was like, oh, that's so weird feeling in my hand. But then, and again, now, like I said, you can't be without it. Yeah, I need that in my...
That was one of the cool things, I think, like the Xbox controller did initially, which I haven't, they probably still do it, is there was rumble in the triggers.
Yes.
But I haven't seen many games implement that. I think it was a lot of racing games with like the gas and braking and stuff like that. But it's kind of neat.
So do you like that idea of the...
I think, I mean, you know, something that's going to add to the controller, as long as it doesn't make it cost them, you know, $100 or something like that. And as a feature, like you said, you can turn on or off. You don't have to be playing with it, but could maybe add just a little intensity to the game. Like you said, horror games, I think, would be perfect for it. I didn't even think about like the application with like baseball and some of the other things, but that'd be interesting to bring into a game, just to add another feature.
Right. And if you think about it, you can get so many off-brand like heart rate sensors that cost like...
Oh, yeah.
$20. I can't imagine the technology, especially for Sony, who has their own watches, has their own like, hey, let's just find a way to incorporate it into the handle. It shouldn't be that much.
And as long as it doesn't kill battery life, that'd be the other big
thing. And then that's and you know, I harp on Microsoft still having replaceable batteries and stuff, but at the same time, the PlayStation controller,
it dies quick.
It can die quick, especially if you're sitting there gaming a lot.
Yeah.
Now I have multiple obviously there's multiple gamers in my house. So upstairs we have three PlayStation controllers upstairs at all times. 2 of them always sit on a charger. So if I see my battery's getting low, I can swap it out.
Good to go.
But and really that's the other thing. Charging cables are so cheap. You get a super long charging cable. So there's really like, oh, hey, my thing's dying. All I gotta do is plug it in.
Yeah, but then you're wired. So
for like 30 to 40 minutes, and then you unplug
terrible.
it. Anyways.
Who would want to do that? It's crazy.
Let's back up. You don't need to be playing video games for 7 hours straight.
Wow, true. Brandon.
Yeah, so if they do that and pull that off, I know I do that too much. My detox from life. If they pull that off, I think that'd be a really cool thing. Speaking of Death Stranding, yesterday they announced the PC release, which they never said it was a PlayStation exclusive. They've only ever used the phrase launch exclusive. Shut up, Sam. There's a whole bunch of pre-orders you get, like just cosmetic stuff. There is some which I haven't played full. Have you ever played Afterlife or not Afterlife? Half-Life?
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the reference, and I think I've only literally played the first Half-Life, not 2. there's a pre-order where if you pre-order Death Stranding for PC, it comes with a crab helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is. Yeah. Is that just a...
It's just, I mean, one of the creatures in Half-Life. Now, granted, I'm not like an aficionado or anything like that, but it attaches to your head.
Okay.
Like takes over your body.
Okay.
Basically.
So they kept showing this picture of Norman Reedus' character with this crab on his head, and I was like, "The hell is that?" And people were like, "Oh, it's a Half-Life." Well, and they said, "What's the name of the new game?"
Half-Life Alyx.
Alyx. They said it's a cross thing with that. So,
gotcha.
Which that comes out soon. So we talked about that. You said that's a VR game. Is that something that you would want to play?
You know, out of anything VR, that would be it. From what I've heard, it's it's a 16-hour experience, and I just
wow, really?
Yeah, it's a long experience, and I just watched there was a little 10-minute clip of somebody playing through it, and it was very interesting because initially when it started, they had it to where you like teleported to where you wanted to go next, which I thought I'm like, man, that's kind of lame. Like, if I'm playing this game, I want to be able to like walk around and see, especially if it's supposed to be that type of experience. And it's that long, which I know some people get motion sick, so I understand why they have the teleporting, but I would prefer it that way. So then I'm watching it as it goes along. Well, throughout the game, I think they're just trying to show you a lot of different things really quickly. And about halfway through, they go into the settings and change some things, and then she starts walking. And I was like, oh! I was like, so you do have the ability to walk. This is just another option in there to teleport around. But I would love to play it. I actually was talking to Brent about this. With the Oculus Quest being wireless and everything else moving forward, I'm like, man, that's almost enough to make me just be like, I'd like to see it.
Well, that's what's cool about that is like if VR is going to be a thing, they need companies that are going to invest the resources to make a 16-hour VR game.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is kind of an off topic, but like, Hello Games has done an amazing job taking No Man's Sky from something that when it came out nobody wanted. This is not what we wanted. Everybody got up in arms. Having said that, when I got that game, I played the shit out of it when it first came out because it was what I wanted. It might not have been what a lot of people expected, but it was what I expected.
Right.
And I had a lot of fun. That was a detox game where I didn't have to talk to anybody, have to do anything. I was just traveling to different worlds and exploring worlds. They have taken the last 2 years and revamped that entire game to where like people are actively like, oh dude, I gotta pick up No Man's Sky.
Right.
They added VR to one of their newest updates, and I was watching an interview with Sean Murphy, the head of Hello Games, and he was like, well, you know, it's kind of one of those couple guys were like, we would like to try to incorporate VR, and they started getting into it with all their other stuff, and they realized, he said he was like, there are so many control schemes in No Man's Sky, from the different type of weapons and the terrain modifiers to all the different types of vehicles. And so they started like going at it, and they're like, man, we're gonna have to change a lot of control schemes. And they said, and then they was like, well, let's do a couple, see how it is. And they did a couple, and then they started playing the game in VR, and they're like, this is a completely different experience of this game. So they said screw it, and they rebuilt all the controls from the ground up just so that they could also work with VR. Wow. And he said it was one of those things that people started playing it in VR, and they were just like, this is the experience. And like one of the things they talked about was when you're flying your spaceship, they wanted you to have that feel of you actually have a cockpit stick in your hand that you're controlling. And it changed their whole train of thought of how to handle VR. It's pretty cool. So that's another game where I think that if VR really wants to become a thing, they need a company like Hello Games to devote that kind of resources. And obviously a Half-Life. Everybody's been jonesing for Half-Life.
Let me toss this idea out there. So, you know, PlayStation 5, they're the only console with VR so far.
Right. Announced so far.
I
still think Microsoft's they're not making it a priority. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to say, by the way, we've made this compatible with Oculus, HTC Vive.
Think about this, though. So PS5 is coming out. PSVR may be part of the idea of like the longevity of PS5 and incorporating into it. What if PS5, they were able to remove all the wires?
Dude, that would be amazing. Yeah. Because if they came out and said, because there's
dedicated control stick.
Right. Well, see, they've already started they have like the Vive's hands thing. They've already patented those. And there's a lot of rumors saying they're going to revamp the entire VR thing for PS5.
Right.
And if they can do that, that makes me immediately want to get one.
And then Arkham Asylum, you are Batman.
You are Batman. I will say one of the things I noticed when watching, which I haven't watched anything on Alex, but when they were showing the clips from, or when I was watching the VR stuff from No Man's Sky, I hate the bodiless hands.
Yeah.
In all VR things.
Right.
But what was interesting was I kind of liked the way they did it in
I think it was smart.
The No Man's Sky, because they actually look capped off. They don't look like they're just floating hand. I mean, they are a floating hand, but it looks like it's got a bracelet that just
that's
the
what
visual
Half-Life Alex is doing something similar.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, something similar to that. Let me ask you, so have you not played Half-Life 2 or
I have not played Half-Life 2. Both Portal games and I think half of Half-Life 1. That's my experience of the
So
Half-Life
I'm probably
universe.
about the same with Half-Life 1. I played through all of Half-Life 2, which is an amazing journey game. Like you go from one place, you start at one place and you end up in a totally different place throughout your travels. But then episode 1 and episode 2, ooh, buddy.
Yeah?
You need to.
Okay.
Actually, I've got the orange box. I'll let you borrow it. Because it's got Half-Life 2, episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah, see, I never bought the orange box. I had, I literally just bought Portal and Portal 2.
You can borrow it. You can play through those games. So they are long games.
So they work on the Xbox then?
I think they're backwards compatible. I believe so.
Real quick, something I wanted to talk to you about off, but we're on, so we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I know your love for Rock Band.
Right.
Did you see the producers of Guitar Hero Harmonix are making a new game? It looks like it's kind of a cross between a DJ. Remember they tried to do that DJ one?
DJ Hero?
Yeah, I think it's a new version of that, but it's called Fuse or Fusion or something like that. Look it up later. I'm curious to see what you think of that. So, GDC got postponed because of
COVID-19,
the coronavirus, the Bud Light.
Coronavirus paid them lots of money to name it something else very quickly.
$15 million. They were like, we will give you $15
we'll take it. Yeah, the
million.
CDC will take that money. We'll just change it to a different strain name.
Yeah. So, because I joked, I was like, well, PlayStation pulled out of GDC.
Right.
Facebook pulled out of GDC. Then what
Microsoft pulled out.
Well, then wasn't it also I think before Microsoft was an Activision?
Yeah.
Or somebody like that. And then it was then they just were canceled.
Yeah.
But then they were like, we're postponing.
So those that don't know, it's the Games Developer Conference, and it is located in Germany? Is that where
I think it was in New York this year.
Was it? No.
Or is it always in Germany?
I think it's overseas.
I think it's, okay, then you're right. It might always be in Germany.
Yeah, I think it's overseas, but it's one of the larger conferences that has been held. Yes. So to be honest, I think this is very responsible of them postponing it, because with the scare and I think inevitable spread of COVID-19, packing hundreds of thousands of people that already have questionable hygiene into a small or to a large area that they are then close to each other, I mean, it could spread like wildfire.
Oh, easily. So I guess here's my question for you on that.
Yes.
Do you think, and I joked that your whole PlayStation's not releasing this year,
right?
But I mean, seriously, do you think that this is going to eventually have an impact on the new systems?
100%. I think it's going to have an impact on not just new hardware coming out like the systems, but I think it's going to have a bigger impact on our economy as a whole. In all honesty, I think the transportation of goods and services is going to be affected by this overall. But ultimately, those type of consoles that have parts from China and other places that are being manufactured there, I think it's going to slow down their processes. And I think that the consoles, when they release, are going to be limited supplies. I don't think we're going to have I feel like the PS5 and the Xbox One, I feel like you could find those anywhere. I feel like it was no problem. I think this is going to be closer akin to Nintendo's release of consoles, where it's like you kind of have to get lucky, or it has to be a few months after to find one.
You'll get it, but they're going to release it in small batches.
Correct.
The PS4 was kind of like that. They were kind of like, we're going to give you everything we have. And nobody saw the demand the PS4 was going to get when it came out.
Right.
And then they were like, okay, we're doing this in chunks. Bear with us. Yeah. Here's this. But extra. Like straight off the bat, they'll be like, hey, you pre-order. Yeah. And this is where you get the people that are like, if you want this stuff, this is why you pre-order.
Oh, 100%.
So like pre-order your system. Like that'd be my biggest suggestion is.
Yeah. I remember back in the Xbox 360 days that like I had friends that bought like a couple and literally sold them for, I think, thousands of dollars, like $1,200 when they first came out because they were in such limited supply.
It has crossed my mind to
buy two
of both, to be honest. Yeah. And because you could almost flip it immediately, I feel like.
Well, and I mean, I almost guarantee you could find somebody, even to say it does have plenty of supply. I mean, you can find somebody that would buy it for face value.
Right. Well, see, when the PS4 came out, I did that actually.
Right.
I bought 2 extra PS4s because nobody could find them anywhere, and I sold them. It was only for like a $50 profit.
Still,
but I was like
$50 you didn't have.
Right. So I'm hoping that that's all it is. What you're saying. So like I have a friend. I have 2 friends that live in the Northeast or Northwest. One of them is he's had leukemia twice. Gone through the whole thing, but obviously his immune system is, and yesterday he had to go to the doctor and he was freaking out because he had a lot of the same symptoms, and he basically walked in and said, here's my health history, here's what I'm worried is going on with me, and they like got him in, checked him, cleared him, and sent him on his way.
Good.
But there have been other reports I was reading today of there was a guy that has like a physical therapy business,
right?
And he also has a weakened immune system from other things in his health history, and he's having a lot of these symptoms, and he's having a hard time finding help. And I think, again, that goes into some, I don't want to go political, but the health industry in this country in terms of getting people health care and health insurance and stuff, like that's where you're going to see a lot of issues with people that don't have the means and ability to go to a doctor.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's one of those.
Well, and
it's scary
at this point too.
At that point,
I think the individual who's running the ship is one of those. I saw that. We need to be hyper aware and acute and kind of dealing with this situation head on. And I don't know that we have the not the infrastructure, but the leadership at this point to help drive us to hopefully keep this from becoming a pandemic. But and I mean pandemic and not the like scared everybody's dying, but the like that it's going to spread probably globally.
Right.
At this point.
Wash your hands, people.
Yeah. Wash your hands. Be,
we,
hyper aware.
My boss, the biggest penny pincher in the world, not the biggest, but he's pretty damn big, got so tired of paying for paper towels that he got those air blowing things.
I just watched some Mythbusters on that. Those are worse than paper towels.
Yeah. Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what that's everything I've ever seen is that those are worse than paper towels.
And now granted, this was Mythbusters. This was not a closed scientific experiment.
Well, no, but I've seen pictures of people taking where they take the pictures, like black light type things, and they're just
kind of riddled.
Right. Yeah. Which is like really funny at work. I went to go pop a couple. Oh, if that showed up on my thing. One of my children's upstairs hawking a loogie or something.
Hacking up
where the air bubble wrap.
Yeah. Where
I jokingly was like, I'm going to pop this. And my guy was like, hey, I'm pretty sure that came from China. And I was like, well, I'm just going to set that down.
Yeah.
It's those little things. Like today,
yeah.
I used the restroom at work, and then I washed my hands and was like, I was in a hurry. Right. I knew I had a phone call, and I didn't want to just let my hands air dry, which is what I normally do. And I was like doing this, and I started using that air thing, and I was like, there's too much shit going on right now. I'm really not comfortable doing this.
There's a Simpsons episode where they joke about China having some type of like weird disease.
Of course,
and they cough in a box, and the Simpsons, of course, buy it, and then they open it and get sick with whatever. I have to look that one up. That's kind of funny. Of course,
there's a Simpson episode for everything. Now, granted, when you've had as many episodes as the Simpsons have and have been on that long,
for sure,
there's going to be a Simpsons episode for everything. couple quick things. Final Fantasy VII Remake, the beta released. I don't know if it was just on PS4 or if it's on.
Is that open for everybody?
Yeah, it's to go to the store.
You download it?
I have not yet. A buddy of mine last night, though, texted us at like, Jeff, who was on the show.
Yeah.
It was like 11.
What up, Jeff?
11 o'clock last night. It was like, oh, Jeff got it. He's excited.
Oh, yeah. He's the one that said that he was going to be wearing the T-shirt
and
everything. Is he the one that also has the 280 Funko Pops?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's a lot of Funko Pops. Where does he keep them?
So his wife used to make him take them to work. And I need to get Jeff so that I can show you to send me a picture of... He's sent me pictures of his desk before.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. I have what looks like a lot of Funko Pops. But it doesn't take a lot to take up a lot of space. Right. I would probably say I think I have 50 or less.
Wasn't there a time that they talked about Funko Pop that like the industry was dying, like they were going bankrupt?
Oh, yeah, they thought they were going to. Well, they said that it wasn't going to. It was starting to slow down. It's done nothing but pick up. Like they, I just think there's too many properties that they haven't even gotten the rights to yet.
Gotcha.
And on top of that, there's too many things that are being revitalized from like our youth.
For sure.
That
then you hit the nostalgia
factor.
You're like, me who's never bought one, I'd be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll buy that Blade one.
Right.
Maybe I'll get that.
Well, see, that's the thing. So if they come out with a Blade Funko Pop,
right,
and you're going to be like, they come out with the Ryan Reynolds character face to face with Deadpool.
Then Emily will get that one.
What will she?
She loves Ryan Reynolds
and
Paul Rudd.
My wife loves Rudd.
Yeah,
where did Paul Rudd come from?
She just loves Paul Rudd.
Oh.
KC born native, you know?
Oh, yeah. I love Paul Rudd.
She's like, uh-oh. And I'm in trouble because it's possible that she might meet him. So
what?
He's on, she's, like just in a happenstance.
Because she's where she's working now.
But he's on her list, so I'm in trouble.
Oh, that list.
That list. I know.
I don't know who's on my wife's list. I know the people that are on my list are never going to happen, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
Also, and this is just a real quick thing. I know you don't care about this. So Call of Duty has these unlockable watches things. So like say you're playing a multiplayer match, you can, if you have specific watches, you can look to see immediately what your KD is. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Without bringing up the thing.
Right.
There's ones that'll show you if like if you're like, I think trying to get a goal of X amount of headshots, it'll show you how many headshots you have in the match. It's just these weird watches.
Gosh.
They're releasing a Tamagotchi one where it's going to, you remember the Tamagotchi little egg things? Yeah. They announced it today, a little watch that'll be in the game that'll have a little creature that you take care of while you're playing the game.
Didn't they do something where you feed it? They fed a Tamagotchi by your kills or something?
Oh, is that? I don't know.
I could have swore a while back I heard like a promo or a promotion that was something that would be great. I
literally saw it like barely today, and I was like, "Are you serious? Like that's ridiculous."
That is ridiculous.
But at the same time, there's enough.
But hey, you know what? People that love Call of Duty and they would love something like that. Good on
nostalgia factor. Like there's a wide range of age of people that play Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
Me, Brent, like you have two of the older ones there. My son doesn't, but I know kids that he's friends with that play it. So.
I mean, I'm not discrediting that, Call of Duty is not a huge franchise. It's ginormous.
No, right.
And that there are super dedicated fans. It's silly to me that you need to watch so badly to be like, oh, all right.
Well, it's an in-game watch.
Oh,
not a real watch. I just saw you look at your wrist. No, it's a watch that your character wears in the game.
Oh, okay.
So like you're going like this and aiming down sights, you can see the watch on your character wrist, and then you can pull up your wrist and look at it. Not a real watch.
I thought you were talking about a real watch, and I was like, that's kind of cool. I don't know how they're going to connect that.
No. This is a watch that your character wears. It was like
now you don't. Now you kind of want to watch you wear, right? Don't you?
Kind of. That would be. That'd be a good app for a smartwatch. Like
that's true. Just open it up.
All right, Activision. Yep. You owe me millions of dollars for thinking of that just now. Speaking of paying for it and Activision, loot boxes. Destiny 2 is getting rid of loot boxes. So Bungie, in my opinion, is doing something that like a lot like what I was talking about with Hello Games.
Yeah.
So when they first released Destiny 2, there was a lot people like, you can add loot boxes. They're like, no, we're not doing this. Like before it was released, we're not doing this. The people that work at Bungie were like, we're not doing this. Then there was some Activision rep that came out and said,
"This is our
things are not finalized as to how this game is going to be released.
Right,
we'll release it as we can." And the Activision is basically the king of loot boxes. So eventually they released loot boxes, which none of them are buffs.
Right.
And I've always said, I'm like, people are stupid enough to spend money on, hey, I have a weird emoji face I can do in my game. Let them.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You're not getting any physical advantage to purchasing a new skin or a new outfit or something. It's ridiculous, though, because there are so many people that want to do it. And I've just kind of been like, so I'm like, I don't really care, but at the same time, it's a little, like the amount of games that have loot boxes that are purchasable. Like,
I mean, it's a little crazy at this point.
It really is. Yeah. And so ever since Bungie broke up with Activision, they've gone out of their way to make the game way more accessible. It's free to play. Destiny 2 is free to play now.
True. I've played some of it.
You've played some of it. Finally, we'll talk about that here in a second. And what's even cooler about that, and this is what I told you, if you were going to play it, you needed to do the intro to it, because the first 10 minutes of I don't remember the special name they have for it right now, but is a recap of Destiny 1.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Does that make more sense to you?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because I just didn't not that I was disappointed, but I was like, this is just Destiny 1.
So they basically, it was a recap of Destiny 1. So new players now can play Destiny 2, get a crux of Destiny 1 if they never played it. And they have the first 2 expansions at their disposal.
Gotcha.
And
I did nothing for that except hit install.
Right, exactly. And those are good expansions. As someone who's played both expansions, they're really good expansions. I just feel like, and that was a smart move for them. Because I really think Activision was controlling Bungie's direction too much. Towards the end of Destiny 1's life cycle, you could see it. Me and Jeff and Steve used to talk about it. You could tell Bungie had a goal and it got altered. And you could tell that the way it went through was not necessarily developer, but more publisher.
Gotcha.
And Destiny 2 came out really strong, had a great start, but then like the end game wasn't working, and they were like nitpicking and selling things really weird. A lot of heavy on the loot box stuff. And I think Bungie was just like, hey, let us buy our property from you. Yeah. You know, you're not going the route we want. Everybody's had their pockets lined to the fullest of extents at this point. Just let it go. Just let us own it. And I think they have done an amazing job at turning it around and keeping more content. Because that's the other thing, is I think they would like to eventually get to a point where they release Destiny 3. Yeah. But
is that where you think they're headed next?
I think
in the long down the road.
I think they will release another Destiny. But having said that, I think it's going to be a year or two into the next console's
that would make sense. I think that'd be.
Because as long as they
iron out the bugs.
Right. If they can keep updating it like they are, because they're random. They've incorporated seasons now. Yeah. And I think they might be incorporating a battle pass or something. I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention. I know. But they started doing seasons, so you keep track of stuff. They have enough in-game activities. So like they have an event they do every Halloween. They have an event they do every Valentine's Day. They have an event,
the seasonal events,
right? You know, those are cool things. So like during Valentine's Day, there's a lot of flower petals, and they have a name for it. During winter, there's snow. Yeah, you know. It's and during there's a little snow, but during winter you get gift boxes while you're playing. So right. it's the season of giving or whatever.
So are they trying to make it like an MMO?
Well, it's always kind of been an MMO.
Right, just on a smaller scale.
Right, because you can literally play Destiny without having to talk to anybody. You can play it without having to talk to anybody. If you want to do a raid, you're going to need to talk to people. Right. And you're going to need to formulate and converse. Strikes, you can do strikes without talking to people, but you have to do them with people. Right. And the game will automatically drop you in. And it's fairly quick. It'll drop you in with other people, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Or you don't have to converse. It's just, if anything, you could just treat them like AI.
Yeah.
Which is easily something I've done a lot.
Do the characters feel different enough? When I was selecting, there was only 3 classes, and I don't know how the classes scale out. Are there a lot of branching trees?
There are.
Skills?
So each character, this is fun. It'll get you into Destiny. I think that'd be fun. Yeah. So you have Warlock, which magic.
Right.
You have a Hunter, which is, so the Warlock, really any kind of gun you want to use if you want to use gun.
Right.
Most of their stuff's around magic. And you get to pick between different types of electricity, void, and firepower, basically.
Right.
That applies to all 3 classes.
Okay.
So it's just a matter, but they all have their own different versions of it. And you can pick different skills that they do that do them separately. So like electricity, you can shoot a bolt or you can do constant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They all have different
more
variations.
powerful versus like a streaming.
Right.
Like
that type of thing.
One big shot versus.
Right. As a warlock, I love the void bomb as your special move because it's just one huge bomb. But you can also, how it impacts, you can change how it impacts.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
I picked the big boy.
You picked a Titan?
Yeah.
Okay. So Titan is really Kool-Aid Man-esque. Yeah. You know what I mean? It has a lot of those features.
Shotgun's my go-to.
But they have a lot of defense.
Yeah.
So it's like, the first 10 minutes you did was the intro to PlayStation or to Destiny 1.
Right.
If you do the first mission of Destiny 2, there's a really cool part where then there's 3 heads to each one of the classes. Zavala is the head of the Titans. There's a cool scene in the intro to the actual Destiny 2 missions where you get up and you're in a bubble with him and you're like shooting this one enemy, but then they start barraging you with missiles and he puts up his bubble, which is obviously 100 times more powerful than any bubble any other Titan can use. But it was kind of a cool little, you get to fight with one of the heads type thing. So, Titans are defense and kind of big guys that just ground and pound type stuff.
My game, baby.
Hunters are more stealth. Handgun usage is a lot for for hunters, and knifing. That's the two big specials that everybody likes with hunters are there's the golden gun, which basically is a one-shot kill. Right. And then there's you turn stealth and you go knife people, one knife. Okay. And then it works its way down. Okay. And then the warlocks are using different magic to do. Wow, I didn't mean to turn this into this is Destiny Cast, if I know I'm naming it when I post it. But anyways, Bungie, in my opinion, so having played Halo and being a huge Halo fan, does the gunplay give you that same immediate sense of you're kind of playing a Halo where you're...
I mean, I think aim down the sights is different from the initial Halos right off the bat, right? Because not every gun did that. You had a few that, and even in the first one, it was just really the sniper rifle, and then it went to like the battle rifle in Halo 2. But it felt good. I always thought the recharging grenade was kind of a weird thing. I'm not really a big fan of. I liked that I could just pick them up in Halo and then just toss them. But granted, when you were out of grenades, you're out of grenades, run one way or another. Right. So if there's maybe a perk that makes them recharge faster.
So there are different attachments you can get for guns and for your armor that makes different things recharge faster. So you also have a powered punch. Yeah. You can make that charge faster. Punch! There are ones where if you use your melee, it recharges your grenade faster. Yeah. There are ones where if you use your grenade, it recharges your melee faster.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's just kind of those things. I always thought that was like a little weird way to have grenades be available in the thing where I'm like, oh, it recharges?
Yeah, a lot of games do that now, though. They'll like put a timer on.
Name one other. Exactly.
Division 2. Huh? Division and Division 2.
Name 4 others. Fair enough. Fair enough.
But there's certain aspects of games where they put cooldowns because
I just giving you a hard time. There's a lot of games with cooldowns. Just not Halo. Which I'm not even that huge of a Halo fan. I really do enjoy it. Right. And I think Halo 5 took the movement to the next level it needed to go to. Me and Brent were actually just talking about that. The story itself was kind of disappointing, but what they updated was very sorely needed.
You kind of just answered the question I was getting ready to ask you, or at least hinted at the question I was going to ask you with what you just said. did you enjoy the gameplay of Halo or the experiences with your friends?
Well, I played all the Halos by myself.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
okay.
at least the stories right off the bat. But then it was Halo 2 that really got into the Xbox Live and playing online. And then that was more of a social thing. But as far as the stories went, that was all like, I enjoyed the stories enough that I wanted to play through all of them by myself. I didn't play through them with another person until I'd already beaten them. And then I went back through them and it was like, it was Halo 1 that sold me on it because I was like, oh man, a first-person shooter with a story that's actually kind of intriguing. Okay, I'm sold. And then it just kind of developed after that.
You just reminded me, Halo is now on PC. The very first Halo, like singular by itself, is available on PC.
Interesting.
I saw that today, and I thought that was odd because I didn't realize it wasn't. But they said they were like,
yeah,
Halo is now on PC.
Ironing it out, make sure it works okay.
Right, because Lord knows that the Master Chief Collection has plenty of issues trying to play.
Yeah.
Ori comes out next week. You excited for that?
Very much. I think seeing the style of the first Ori and just the movement and everything that controlled very well. The second one just looks to improve on a lot of that and add some new features.
Plus, you get a sword.
A
flame sword or something.
And it looks like some more boss fights. And
yeah, so I watched a review. I don't know if it was IGN or somebody else. They were like, it's a little weird having actual boss fights.
Right.
Like legit, like, oh my God, this is a boss fight. But they said all the time, the complaint that the reviewer had was that it does make it feel formulaic at points, though. And I'm like...
And I mean, I'll have to see whenever I play it, but it's one of those things that I've always thought boss fights kind of are a fun way to kind of like hit like a peak in a game and be like, oh, sweet, I overcame this big thing.
Plus, it changes everything else you were doing up to that point.
Right.
Because I've always like been... You get a mundane with the normal fights and everything else, and then you're just like, okay, this is different. What's going on here?
Now we got to figure out the pattern. Now we got to take this thing down.
That's just a part of gaming. You sometimes you want newer things.
And as long as the controls and the gameplay of like kind of moving around the environment and figuring out puzzles is still intact, hey man, I'm all good.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I want to just run through the BAFTA Game Awards nominations got announced with Bathtub Game Awards.
Oh yeah.
With
The Sims
Death Stranding and what was the other one I said? Control.
Yeah.
11
what does
nominations
BAFTA even
each.
Stand for?
The British. Hold on.
Awards for the action show.
Something like that. It's the British Artist. Man, I just literally had it open.
Timeless Feature Award.
Yeah.
There you go.
Something like that.
Figured it out.
But
Tacos for Americans Award.
Anyways, so we're not going to do a whole recap and everything. I just wanted to go over this. Best game, which I told you I thought was odd. Death Stranding wasn't in this. Control, Disco Elysium, Luigi's Mansion 3, Outer Worlds, Sekiro, and Untitled Goose Game.
Jeez, what an interesting
Wouldn't it be amazing
collection.
if Untitled Goose Game won that?
Oh, it's going to.
You think so?
100%.
I think it'll be Sekiro. Performer, so actresses.
The British love ducks.
Laura, they goose. Do. They really do. Laura Bailey, Gears 5. Courtney Hope, Control. Somebody from Telling Lies. Somebody from Life is Strange. Somebody from Call of Duty. And Norman Reedus.
I guess the question is, are they going to cancel this? Who knows?
So that's really interesting to me because they have these award shows, cons by themselves. So Emerald City Comic Con is a huge comic book convention. They're already getting people canceling.
Where's it at?
Seattle.
Oh, okay.
It's like a huge
one. That's where the first person died in America.
Yeah. There's 16 deaths now?
In America?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Austin was freaking out because somebody at school said there were 16 deaths. But so like that's also, which by the way, so you're not going to get to play poker next month. That same weekend is the Planet Comic Con.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. So we weren't sure if we were going to go anyways because they upped the prices again.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, I've been a little hesitant. Like even though there are actually legit people I want to see this year, I've been like,
that's a good point.
I don't want to be because it gets crowded in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like San Diego or C2E2 type thing, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to be around that many
Let
people.
this pass a little bit.
How do you think that's going to eventually play out with E3 and with
I think
like San Diego Comic-Con?
I think the question's going to be if we start seeing kind of more inward direction, infections and those affected. It's just, like I said, I think it could affect a lot more of the world economy than we realize what's going to happen. So we'll see. I'm
not going through all these. There's a lot of games. Look them up, the BAFTA awards. I was just curious about...
Look up the Bathtub Awards.
The Bathtub Awards. So do you really think Untitled Goose Game's going to win game?
That or... oh, dang. I was trying to think of some bathtub game. I couldn't do it. I know we talked about The Sims, and Fortnite, I think, has a bathtub in it. But
Fortnite? Yeah. Fortnite does have a bathtub.
Like, whenever you're in the bathrooms, there's a bathtub there. I guess anytime you're in a house, there's probably a bathtub.
Yeah, probably. I think it's going to be Sekiro. Is there a game
in a bathtub where you ride in it? Who knows?
There could be.
Yep.
There's a game I want
Untitled bathtub game.
Before I forget, so I've been looking at Game Pass.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they just announced there's 3 games that are going to be leaving really soon.
Ooh, I'm going to see what those are.
I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but look them up if there's any games that you're wanting to hold on to. So I downloaded a couple games for the Game Pass. I'm going to stall a little bit while I do this because there's one that I wanted you to look up. It's your a girl and your dog. Mm-hmm. And it made it sound like there was no sound of it. It made it sound like there was no combat.
I like that.
It's just a roaming a fire in the light or fire in the ocean or...
Well, you can't walk your dog around in the ocean. You got to swim with them.
No, I know.
Is it an underwater dog?
No.
Does he have a helmet?
No, but the game starts with the dog pulling on a whole bunch of bones.
Man, if only it had the music from House. Dun, 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 dun.
I just searched fire and I didn't find it.
Well, that's disappointing. You led that up to nothing.
I know.
Sorry, fans. Brandon has let you down once again.
It should show me all the games I've downloaded. Leaving soon. Deus Ex.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Do you not like...
No, I'm fine with it. I just don't have any interest in playing it myself.
I can never pronounce it. Shinmu?
Okay,
Shinmu is leaving.
No problem there.
Tumbleweed.
I don't even know what that is.
Thimbleweed, I'm sorry. And
Thimbleweed Park?
Light Spear.
Gosh, I don't even know what half those are.
Well, then don't get mad at me for anything, really. I did download Mud Runner.
Is that the one where you're riding the bike down the mountain?
No, but Justin's been playing that, and I tried playing it, and I'm like, I ain't got the patience for this.
Here's the thing: you will never beat Justin in video games. More than likely,
I wasn't trying to beat him. I just wanted to play something.
You will never beat him, Brandon, unless you rise from the ashes.
All right, Justin.
Game 7.
Justin, I'm throwing this out there right now. You ready to play some Madden? The Flame and the Flood. The Flame and the Flood. Look that game up.
Okay, I will. Man, throwing out the gauntlet. I'd like to see you. I would like to be around when you guys play
Madden
and see how you do.
Well, whoever drives his ass up here.
So,
all right, sir. Next week, we've talked about finally doing our...
In a timely manner, we decided to talk about Best Picture.
From a month ago.
Yeah. But we've finally actually seen quite a few of the movies.
Yes. I will try and get them in as much as possible over the next week. Because I have all of them. I've acquired all of them. So I will watch them and let you know.
Sorry. Sounds good.
Until next time, sir.
Yes.
Oh, what was that sign off from that one show?
Keep it classy.
No. Good day and...
Oh, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What is that from?
Got to figure it out. Chump. We're out!